What's the trick to not caring what other people think of you? Just think about how much you honestly think/care about what other people are doing, wearing, or anything about most other people. It's not that much, is it? You need to realize that just as you don't spend that much time thinking about other people, they most likely don't spend that much time thinking about you. Most people are too caught up worrying about themselves, and what other people think, to spend that much time worrying about other people. More than likely, you think about yourself way more than other people think about you, and in general, this is true for everyone. Don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. Old Reddit proverb. I like another one. If you live for the praises of others, you will die by their criticism. Well, first off, you kind of have to care about what some people think about you. If you really did not care what anyone thought of you, you'd be a lonely, selfish asshole. The trick is figuring out the who and when. If your boss says your performance is lagging, that's obviously important. If your so says you're being a bit selfish, then you should probably reflect on that. A stranger judging your choice of shirt color? Fuck 'em, who cares? Someone thinks you enjoying a certain piece of media is tacky? Who cares? Unless it's hurting your or someone else directly, it's probably not a big deal. Breaking it down like that helps, and as with anything, you're going to have to practice at it. It's not an on/off switch. Being comfortable with who you are. Once you do that, no one else will impact you again. Life's hardest lesson for me, but once I found self-confidence, I've never been down again about myself. The people who have shitty opinions of you? Just look at them. The longer you do that and think about how imperfect they are, the less you will care. Also, think about what you want for your life. Set high goals to achieve those things. Work hard on those goals. You'll be too busy to notice any of those idiots, and you'll give them more things to have opinions about. They're too busy worrying about what other people think about them to worry about you. Also, even if they do judge you, how is that affecting you in any way? It isn't. It's not your problem. My grandma used to say, "What other people eat won't make you shit." Her meaning was, what other people think or say doesn't affect you in any way. That has stuck with me my whole life. You are the only one that can decide to listen to what they say or ignore them. Be who you are, not what other people want or think you should be. If someone makes fun of you, that just means they're very insecure. I don't know why, but that statement did wonders for me and my confidence a while ago. I'm self-loathing narcissistic. Just because I think about myself all the time, doesn't mean I think highly of myself. Keeping that in mind, I like to believe that most people are probably only thinking about themselves in some capacity, too. 35 years ago, my mother told my teenage self this. She said, "When I was in my teens, I really cared a lot about what other people thought about me. When I was in my 20s, I focused and tried hard not to care what people thought about me. When I was in my 30s, I convinced myself I didn't care what other people thought about me. When I was in my 40s, I honestly didn't care what other people thought about me. When I was in my 50s, I realized no one was ever thinking about me in the first place. You are the only person stuck with you forever, so you have to always be able to rely on yourself through self-love and respect. The only way to do that is look past what people think of you, as they themselves are stuck just like you, so they don't have anything over you. Remember to view yourself from your own eyes, and not someone else's. Keep improving yourself to where you can view your positive traits instead of negative ones. And my new personal favorite, wake up each day with the attitude of, everyone is equal, but the only person better than me is the person I become tomorrow. For me, it came with age, specifically when I left education. I told myself that I didn't love myself, or even like myself, but I decided accept myself. 'Tis what it is attitude. Honestly, not caring what others think is one less weight off my shoulders, but it's easier said than done for a lot of people. Experiences. I have been fat, I have been thin. I have succeeded in life and have also failed miserably at times. But I've gathered from my experiences that people will always have their say no matter what you say or do or wear or don't wear. So why not just be yourself and not give two flying Fs about what the rest of the world has to say about you? That's the principle I go by and is one of the reasons behind my badassery. 1. You are not even remotely close to how interesting you think you are in someone else's mind. Most people just care about themselves too. Trying to control what other people think of you is not a burden you should carry. We can't control other people's mind chatter. By knowing what they think, considering their opinions and where their opinions might come from, and then letting it go. Don't become attached to anyone's opinions, even the opinions of those you love. If someone has a critical opinion, and you find, after thinking about it, that it is valid, you simply strive to improve that thing. But don't become attached to any feeling about it or who said it. I generally just believe that there are so many people on this planet that we cannot please everybody. No matter how popular you are, how funny you are, how pretty you are, somebody is not going to like you, find you funny, find you pretty, etc. You just have to accept that someone, for whatever reason, will not like you, or will talk bad about you. Once you accept that fact, you give up on caring what other people think. There is no trick. You stop caring what other people think of you when you realize they're wrong. You ever have a group of friends a few years younger than you? Say, 18-year-olds vs you who is, let's say, 24. You don't care about the same things they do, you don't think the same way they think, unless you're still immature. You know how to solve the problems they tell you about, but you can't explain it to them because they need to find out for themselves in order to learn. Same thing with meaningless people's opinions. It sounds simple, but it ain't easy to do. Just realize that nobody's perfect. There's a difference between knowing and realizing. Knowing nobody's perfect is just common sense or intuition. You know that even millionaires have trouble. You know everyone has faulty areas. Realizing no one's perfect is meeting that nice guy on a shitty day where he's nasty. Realizing no one's perfect is seeing that laid-back ladies' man getting scolded by an older woman he was trying to get with, seeing him get yelled at like a child from his mother. Simple humility. Once life shows you those things, you will naturally not care what others think. Others are too busy with their own lives. If they have ever said/done/wore something questionable, just ask yourself, do I really need to be taking advice from you? Especially works if you don't get along with them. If not, just remember that you are you. Filters and logic. Who are they? Are they important to me? Will it matter what they think? Why or why not? Come to a conclusion. Do I care or not care? I just think about the ways I think of other people. If someone does something embarrassing or says something weird, does something strange, you personally don't really care or think about it for that long, do you? Same goes for you and whatever you do. Be confident. Life's too short to give a shit about things like that. Most people's opinions about you don't matter. Think about how much you actually care about them. Do you really give a shit if someone trips and looks stupid? Or care if they're singing to themselves and it doesn't sound like Taylor or Ariana? Or if they're wearing clothes from a thrift store that have holes and some stains? Nope. Be fun to talk to, have a passion you can have a convo about, and people will love you. If you don't have a passion, ask them about theirs. Edit, I ended up rambling. So what really matters is at the bottom, if other people are judging you negatively for the things you wear or do, are they really going to be the type of person you want to associate yourself with and be worth your time? And these people you don't know and have never seen before, are they really worth your time, considering you will never see them again? If they're not, then why would their opinions matter to you? They're either a bad person who isn't worth your time, or you'll never see them again. To put it in some more perspective, if you're on vacation in a different country, what are these people going to do with the information about the way you dress? You will never see them again, so how will that information impact your life in any way? And does the opinion of a serial killer really matter to you? They already decided that murdering multiple people was a good idea, so would their opinion on your clothes really be something you should be worried about, considering their poor judgment? What matters is the opinions of your friends and family, not the opinions from that jerk you see once a month in the supermarket, or that elderly couple you have never seen before. TLDR*, people who judge you for what you wear or do instead of who you are, shouldn't be people you want to spend time with. They're not worth your time, so don't spend it on them. Once you realize this, you'll get more comfortable with yourself and start caring less what others think of you. The secret relies on realizing that what people think or say about you really says way more about themselves than it does about you. After this realization hits you, it'll provide a richer insight into other people's inner lives. When people have an opinion about you, they most often are just having an opinion about themselves, but with extra steps. Take inventory. Do they dress you? Pay your bills? Have they saved your life at some point? Do they feed you or your family? How much do they contribute to your life? Nothing. And thus they harbor no value, nor do their opinions. There are a very small group of people whose opinions matter to me. Why would I care what someone I don't know or really care about thinks about me? It's of no consequence to me. In fact, I encourage and nurture the wilder things that people can say or come up with for extra fun. Stopping yourself from judging other people and, instead, focusing on tasks rather than relationships. If you are project-based in your thinking, more of your time will be devoted to problem solving and less to other people. Think about it, you have your own opinions about other people. Why does it matter what you think about them? You're not the one living their life. If anything, you're wasting your time worrying about them when you should be focusing your energy on working on yourself. Also, what they say about you is nothing personal and is a reflection of how they feel about themselves. Life came at me hard from late 0709. My dad, who was my superhero, died from cancer, and then my husband decided to peace out when our daughter was 6 weeks old. Something in me just changed. I became a person whose spine was steel, and I had the ability to speak my mind, call out BS, and step in when others couldn't take up for themselves. My personality isn't for everyone, but it's also served me much better than I used to be. Had a lot more life happen since, but I've been able to deal with it a lot better when I realized that I don't need people's approval to do what needs to be done. You should care what other people think about. The trick is in knowing which of those people are worth listening to. See, every person on the planet has opinions about virtually everything that they encounter, but you only need to consider a small handful of those perspectives. For example, if a given individual is demonstrably better at something than you are, then it's likely in your best interests to hear their thoughts. On the other hand, if you find yourself being criticized by someone who doesn't have the same experience, you should feel safe in dismissing what they have to say. There are exceptions, of course, but they're few and far between. The same philosophy can be applied to interpersonal relationships. The people whose opinions should matter are the people who matter to you. If your significant other thinks that you're acting like an asshole, well, you might want to listen to them, but if a random person on the street thinks that your shoes look stupid, you can easily ignore them. With all of that said, there is a caveat. The above advice is predicated on the assumption that you're earnestly offering the best that you can. If you're being lazy, standoffish, or otherwise unpleasant, then you should probably take other people's reactions as signs that you need to improve. We all have off days, and life isn't always fair, but everyone has the same responsibility to make the most of the hand that they've been dealt. If you're not making excuses, though, and if you're always trying to better yourself, then you don't need to care about what other people think, unless there's someone whose opinion you care about, of course. TLDR, you absolutely should care what some people think about you. The people that don't like you, if you change to try and please them, it will just piss off a different group of people instead. You're going to have somebody not agree with you either way, so you may as well just do whatever the hell you want and not worry about it. As you get older, you realize that they aren't really thinking about you that much. They are probably more concerned about how they appear to you or whatever. Another thing is, as you age, you don't care about appearing cool anymore, and oddly, that seems to make you a little cooler, but it's too late, because you don't give a shit anymore. The negative comments someone makes are about them, and not you. Be true to yourself. This is your one life. Remove sources of negativity immediately. Trust a few opinions, but forget the rest. Question your own thinking. Let go of perfection. Get to know yourself. Be your own friend. Nobody's mentioning that you have to have power over them. If it's your boss or a person of the opposite sex that you are trying to attract, or someone like that, what they think about you matters. If they have no power over you, fuck 'em. Other people's opinions of you don't change anything about you. 2. You're not here on this earth to please other people. 3. Why would you care what someone thinks about you if you don't know / like that person? 4. If you know yourself well enough and trust that, then all other opinions are irrelevant. I went to college. One professor was going senile and literally refused to teach us anything, and then at the midterm yelled at all of us for not knowing anything. And no, the textbook couldn't help, because he forgot to order it for the bookstore. And then forbade us from reading it after he said he'd buy it. He stressed me out so much, I literally went blind. Another professor genuinely hated me and had for a full year before she even met me. I was the youngest student to ever attend that college, and she was pissed off that her daughter, same age, wasn't. She got pissed at me for going to the ER and not alerting her a few days in advance. She hated me, and she was a horrible professor to everyone else. I was on campus because otherwise, I'd set the bar too high. The bar couldn't be low enough. The disappointment and irritation I felt culminated into a severe distaste for what others thought of me. The trick is not caring what other people think about you. Seriously, if you don't naturally get there, usually with high confidence, you probably will just have to do the second best, that is acknowledging that you don't want to give a crap and you deserve to do exactly that, so you act like you don't, getting eventually into a middle ground on which sheer exposition tuned your fears down a bit. A trick to me is like mental gymnastics to reduce the impact of someone's words. One I find effective is thinking about how venomous people can be. Once I decide that someone's words are chosen only to hurt me, I find them easier to dismiss. The key word there is easier. We all have our buttons, and mental gymnastics are no substitute for self-esteem. Also, the goal isn't to not care what anyone thinks, but to pick and choose whose opinions matter to you in what situations. I remember hearing a talk about how there is a you for every person in existence. There is an infinite amount of variation as to how each person has ever seen and experienced you. That might have seen you in person, though warped glass, in poor lighting, from a weird angle. They might have misheard something you said. They might have only heard a bunch of others' expectations and opinions of you before meeting you. They might have occasionally interacted with you in life. Even if you live with others, you still probably don't spend your life attached to someone, and unless you have the 100% inability to retain your inner thoughts and verbalize every single thought you have all day, and every person is around to hear you say those things, it still only does so much, because they have their own past history that warps all of that information they received about you. This means that the only person who knows you is you. Everyone else has their own personalized version of you that's largely incomplete, and that means there's a lot of assumptions made about you based on contextual evidence. This means anyone you have ever had in your life will have a different version of you that you don't even know exists, or what that version of you is like. The people closest in your life will only ever know a fraction of you, and that means you should only take a fraction of their opinion into consideration. I don't recommend the complete halting of caring about what others think about you. You just need to apply a compartmentalized label to what you think they think so you can separate the truth from the opinion. Practice. Actively partaking in who you really are long-term and numbing yourself to opinions. I've been performing burlesque for 6 years. I've already heard all the "you should be ashamed getting naked in front of strangers" variations you can think of. The realization has come to me that these people are only projecting their own insecurities onto the art form, with the added realization that they know nothing about it. I pressed on through all of the negative comments. I've even gotten death threats. I just don't fucking care, because not a one of them came from someone who was winning in life. One way is to practice. When I was in high school, I had a sociology class where we had to stand completely still in a public place for 10 minutes. We couldn't interact with anyone, speak, make eye contact, everything. The point of the assignment was to make us notice how many social conventions we follow without thinking about it, but for me it was also a great way to overcome social anxiety. I'm often scared of doing the wrong thing or messing up in public, but I realized after this that even if I did get everything wrong and acted really weird, there was no hammer that came down from the sky and hit me for it. People gave me dirty looks and asked what I was doing standing still in a grocery store, but after a while of me standing silently they gave up and walked away. In the end, they felt more uncomfortable than I did. Later in the class we had a gender unit where we had to act like the opposite gender, and for that I went to Target and tried on women's shoes. It was super liberating to get weird looks from a mom and her son, and not give a shit because I knew what I was doing even if they didn't. TLDR, just go to a public place with lots of people and intentionally break the unwritten rules, to exercise the not giving a shit muscle. People easily spend the vast majority of their time wrapped up in their own shit. They think about themselves, their families, and things that directly impact them or that they're particularly interested in. There's not that much to care about because they don't really think about you very much. Even when they do, it's usually fleeting. The other part of that is that the one spending the most time thinking about, and judging, you is _you_. Consciously think about what kind of person you want to be and how you want to be perceived by yourself, not others. Not material things, just the kind of person you want to be. Then make sure you congratulate yourself when you do things well and focus on how to improve towards that goal when you fall short. If you can maintain a positive image of yourself and your progress, you really won't care that much what others think.